Secrets of the Samurai's Code. Imagine a time, long, long ago, in a land far across the big ocean. A land where brave warriors, called samurai, lived by a secret code. This code, Bushido, was more than just rules. It was a hidden path, full of secrets, bravery, and sometimes even heartbreak. Tonight, we will open a very old book and peek at a secret from that time. Our story begins in a quiet village, nestled among tall, green mountains. The year is 1582. Smoke from cooking fires drifted up to the bright blue sky. Children played with wooden swords, pretending to be the great samurai. But one young boy, Kenji, was different. Kenji did not play with the others. He sat by the old, big ginkgo tree, its leaves already turning gold, listening to the old stories. He loved to hear about honor and loyalty. Kenji was only 10 years old, with sharp, bright eyes and a spirit full of questions. His grandfather, a wise old man named Hiroshi, was the village elder. Hiroshi had seen many seasons. His face was lined like an old map, showing all the places he had been and all the things he had learned. He would often tell Kenji stories of the great samurai, but always, he would stop at a certain point, his eyes growing far away. One warm afternoon, Kenji found his grandfather sitting by the small river, watching the clear water run over smooth stones. "Grandfather," Kenji asked, his voice soft, "tell me about the lost scroll of Musashi. You always stop when you talk about it. What is so special about it?" Hiroshi turned, his eyes twinkling like stars in the evening sky. He sighed a long, slow sigh. "Ah, Kenji-kun," he said, using the polite way to say his name. "Some secrets are like very old tea. They need time to be truly understood. But today, perhaps, you are ready for a sip." Hiroshi beckoned Kenji closer. The air felt still, almost like the trees were listening too. "The scroll of Musashi is not just any scroll," Hiroshi began, his voice low and serious. "It is said to hold the deepest, most hidden part of Bushido. A part that many samurai masters believed was too powerful, too dangerous, to be known by everyone. It speaks of a way to fight not with a sword of steel, but with a sword of spirit. A way to win without ever drawing blood." Kenji's eyes grew wide. He had only ever known samurai as fierce fighters, their swords flashing in the sun. "But grandfather," Kenji whispered, "how can a samurai win without a sword? Isn't their sword their soul?" Hiroshi smiled sadly. "That is what many believe, young one. But the scroll of Musashi tells a different story. A story of balance, of seeing the unseen, of hearing the unheard. It was written by a great, wise warrior named Musashi. He was not just strong, he was incredibly smart. He understood people's hearts and minds." Hiroshi explained that Musashi, after many years of fighting, felt a deep sadness in his heart. He saw too much war, too much pain. He wanted to find a better way for samurai to protect their land and people without so much loss. So, he went on a long journey, seeking wisdom. He meditated under waterfalls, spoke to wise monks, and studied the movements of animals. He wrote all his biggest, most secret ideas on a special scroll, a scroll that became known as the Lost Scroll of Musashi. "But why is it lost?" Kenji asked, leaning forward, totally captivated. "Who lost it?" Hiroshi's face grew serious again. "That, Kenji, is the biggest secret. After Musashi wrote it, he showed it to only a few very trusted samurai. They understood its power, but they also feared it. They worried that if this knowledge fell into the wrong hands, it could be used for bad, not good. Imagine a warrior who knows all your thoughts, all your fears, without you saying a word. Someone who could make you surrender just with their mind." Kenji shivered, even though the sun was warm. "That sounded scary." "So, they hid it?" he asked. "Yes," Hiroshi nodded slowly. "They chose a guardian for the scroll, a family tasked with keeping its location a secret, generation after generation." "Our family, Kenji. We are the guardians." Kenji gasped. His own family? This was huge. He looked at his grandfather with new eyes. All those quiet moments, all those old stories, now made sense. "But the secret was almost lost many years ago," Hiroshi continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. "A great lord, greedy for power, heard whispers of the scroll. He believed it would make him unbeatable. He sent his meanest warriors to find it. Our ancestors had to scatter, to hide, to protect the secret. Some died, but they never gave away the scroll's true hiding place. And now, the time might be coming again. Dark shadows are growing in the land. The old ways of peace are fading. People are getting ready for more war." Kenji felt a prickle of fear and excitement. He was a guardian. This was like the stories, but it was real. "What do I need to do?" he asked, his young voice firm. Hiroshi looked at him, a flicker of pride in his old eyes. "First, you must understand Bushido deeply. Not just the fighting, but the heart. You must be kind, honest, and brave. You must learn to observe, to listen, to feel the world around you. And then, when the time is right, I will tell you where it is hidden. But you must swear, Kenji, to never use its power for yourself, only for peace, only to protect. Kenji nodded solemnly. He understood. This was not a game. This was a very serious promise. From that day on, Kenji's life changed. He still helped in the village, learning how to plant rice and care for the animals. But every evening, he would sit with his grandfather. Hiroshi would teach him about the stars, the seasons, the way the wind speaks through the trees. He taught Kenji how to move silently, like a cat, how to notice small things no one else saw. He taught him about the different types of samurai, and the ones who were very good at fighting with their hearts and minds, not just their swords. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Kenji grew taller, stronger. His mind felt sharper. He learned to feel the emotions of people around him, even before they spoke. He could tell if someone was sad, happy, or worried just by looking at their eyes. This was part of the secret, Hiroshi said. This was how Musashi fought without a sword. He understood the human heart. One stormy night, when the wind howled like a hungry wolf, a group of travelers arrived in the village. They were big, rough men, wearing dark clothing, not the bright colors of ordinary travelers. Their eyes were cold, like winter ice. They said they were merchants, but their hands rested often on the swords at their hips. Kenji felt a chill. These men were not good. He saw his grandfather watching them too, his face grim. The men demanded food and shelter, speaking in loud, harsh voices. They asked many questions about the village, about its history, about old tales. Kenji listened carefully. One of them, a big man with a scar on his face, kept looking at Hiroshi with a strange, knowing look. Kenji felt his heart beat fast. Could these be the ones his grandfather warned him about? That night, Kenji couldn't sleep. He crept to his grandfather's room. Hiroshi was awake, sitting by the window, watching the rain. Grandfather, Kenji whispered. Those men, they are not merchants, are they? Hiroshi turned, his eyes full of worry. No, Kenji, they are not. They are Lord Kageyama's men. Lord Kageyama is the greedy lord I told you about. He has not forgotten the scroll. He has been searching for it for years. And now, he has found our village. Kenji felt a wave of fear. Lord Kageyama was known for his cruelty, for taking what he wanted. What do we do? Kenji asked, his voice shaking a little. We protect the scroll, Hiroshi said firmly. And we protect our village. I will tell you now, Kenji, the hiding place. You must remember it. If anything happens to me, you must go there alone. Do not tell anyone else. Hiroshi drew a map on the dusty floor with his finger. Beyond the Whispering Falls, where the twin cherry trees meet, there is a small cave hidden behind a curtain of ivy. Inside, you will find a stone marked with 3 circles. Push the stone. Behind it is a hollow. The scroll is there, wrapped in silk, in a lacquered box. Kenji memorized every detail. He pictured the falls, the trees, the cave, the stone. He knew he had to be brave. The next morning, the supposed merchants were gone, but they left a message, a symbol carved into the old ginkgo tree. It was the symbol of Lord Kageyama. It meant, we know you are here. We will return. Fear spread through the village like a cold mist. People whispered, their faces pale. Hiroshi gathered everyone. We will not let them take our peace, he said, his voice strong despite his age. We will stand together. We will protect what is ours. Kenji watched his grandfather. Hiroshi was not a warrior with a sword. He was an old man. But his spirit was like a mountain. Kenji understood what the scroll of Musashi meant. It wasn't just about fighting without a sword. It was about inner strength, about inspiring others, about protecting with your whole heart. A few days later, Lord Kageyama's army arrived. There were many, many soldiers, their armor glinting in the sun, their banners flapping in the wind. They surrounded the small village. Kenji stood with the other villagers, hidden behind the houses, watching. His heart pounded. This was not a story anymore. This was real. Lord Kageyama rode to the front, a huge man on a black horse, his face hard like stone. Old man, he boomed, pointing at Hiroshi, I know you hide something important. Give me the scroll of Musashi, and your village will be spared. Refuse, and it will burn. Hiroshi stepped forward, his back straight. My lord, he said, his voice calm, I know of no such scroll. We are simple villagers, seeking only peace. Lord Kageyama laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Do not lie to me, old fool. My spies are everywhere. I know your family has guarded it for generations. Give it to me now. He ordered his soldiers to search. They began to ransack houses, throwing things around, scaring the children. Kenji felt a burning anger in his chest. He wanted to fight, but what could a boy do against so many trained soldiers? He remembered his grandfather's words, fight not with a sword of steel, but with a sword of spirit. Suddenly, Kenji had an idea. It was a risky idea, but he had to try. He remembered the map, the location of the scroll. He knew what he had to do. While the soldiers were busy searching the village, Kenji slipped away, moving like the shadows his grandfather taught him. He ran as fast as his legs could carry him, heading for the Whispering Falls. The journey was hard. The path was overgrown, and the ground was slippery from the recent rain. Kenji pushed through thorny bushes, his clothes tearing, small cuts appearing on his hands and face. He could hear the shouts of the soldiers in the distance, growing fainter. He had to be quick. He had to be brave. Finally, he reached the Whispering Falls. The water fell over the rocks like a white curtain, making a soft, rushing sound. He looked for the twin cherry trees. They stood tall and ancient, their branches intertwined, like old friends. Behind them, he saw the thick, green ivy. He pushed it aside, and there it was, a small, dark cave opening. Inside, it was cool and damp. Kenji's heart hammered. He squinted in the dim light, searching for the stone with 3 circles. He found it, tucked away in a corner, covered in moss. He pushed it with all his might. It was heavy, but it moved, revealing a dark hollow behind it. Reaching inside, Kenji felt a smooth, lacquered box. He pulled it out gently. It was beautifully made, dark wood with gold patterns. Inside, wrapped in soft silk, was the scroll. It was old, very old, the paper thin and yellowed. He held it in his hands. This was it, the lost scroll of Musashi, the secret to fighting without a sword. He didn't open it. He remembered his grandfather's warning. This power was not for him, not yet. He had to protect it. But how? He couldn't just carry it back to the village. Lord Kageyama would take it. He thought hard. What would Musashi do? What would his grandfather do? They would think of a way to win without fighting, without harm. An idea sparked in Kenji's mind. It was a crazy idea, but it was the only one he had. He knew the forest like the back of his hand. He knew every path, every hiding spot. He would lead Lord Kageyama away from the village. He would make them chase him. Kenji carefully re-hid the box in the cave. He would use a decoy. He took a piece of paper from his small bag and quickly scribbled some random symbols and drawings, making it look like an ancient text. He rolled it up tightly and tied it with a piece of string. This would be his bait. He ran back towards the village, moving carefully, trying to stay hidden. He crept close enough to see Lord Kageyama still demanding the scroll, threatening Hiroshi. The soldiers were still searching, getting more frustrated. This was his chance. Taking a deep breath, Kenji ran out from behind a house, holding the fake scroll high above his head. Lord Kageyama, he shouted, his voice surprisingly loud and clear. Here is your scroll, but you will never have its true power. Lord Kageyama's eyes, full of rage and greed, immediately fixed on Kenji. Seize him, he roared, pointing his sword. The boy has it. Do not let him escape. Several soldiers immediately broke away from the search and charged after Kenji. Kenji didn't wait. He turned and ran into the forest, not towards the cave, but in a different direction, a direction that would lead them deep into the tangled woods. He was small and fast, weaving through the trees, jumping over roots. The soldiers, big and heavy in their armor, struggled to keep up. He led them on a wild chase. He knew shortcuts, secret paths. He darted through thickets, forcing them to follow him into thorny bushes. He crossed a shallow stream, making them wet their heavy boots. He climbed a small, rocky hill, knowing the soldiers would find it hard to ascend in their heavy gear. He used everything his grandfather had taught him about moving silently and wisely in the forest. The sun began to set, painting the sky in fiery orange and purple. The forest grew darker, shadows stretching long and eerie. The soldiers were getting tired, their shouts turning into grunts of frustration. Kenji could hear them panting, complaining, but they were still chasing him. Lord Kageyama wanted that scroll badly. Kenji kept running, his own legs aching, his lungs burning. He knew he couldn't keep this up forever. He needed a final trick. He reached a part of the forest he knew well, a place where the trees grew very close together, their branches forming a dark, tangled roof. Below, the ground was uneven, full of hidden holes and slippery roots. He used this to his advantage. He ducked under a low branch, then quickly swerved to the left, disappearing behind a huge, moss-covered rock. The soldiers, charging blindly, went straight past, crashing into the thick undergrowth. Kenji waited, holding his breath. He heard their confused shouts, their angry curses. They had lost him. Slowly, carefully, Kenji crept away, heading back towards the village. He was exhausted, his body tired, but his heart felt strong. He had done it. He had led them away. But would they give up? He doubted it. Lord Kageyama was not one to quit easily. When Kenji finally limped back to the village, the moon was high in the sky. The soldiers were gone. The village was quiet, but tense. He found his grandfather sitting by a small fire, surrounded by other villagers. Their faces were full of relief when they saw him. Kenji, Hiroshi exclaimed, rushing to hug him. You are safe. You were so brave, my boy. Kenji, tired but proud, explained how he had tricked the soldiers with a fake scroll. The villagers murmured in amazement. "They will be back," Hiroshi said, his gaze serious. "They will realize the scroll was fake. But you have bought us time, precious time." He looked at Kenji, a deep understanding in his eyes. "You used Musashi's true teaching today, Kenji. You fought not with a sword, but with your mind, with your courage, with your spirit." The villagers knew they couldn't fight an army. They decided they had to leave, to find a new home, to keep the secret of the scroll safe. They packed what they could, their hearts heavy with sadness but also hope. Kenji felt sad to leave his home, but he also felt ready for the journey. He was a guardian now, truly. Early the next morning, under the pale light of dawn, the villagers quietly left, moving into the deeper parts of the mountains, following paths only known to them. Kenji walked beside his grandfather, carrying a small pack. He knew the real scroll was still safe in the cave. He would return for it when it was truly safe. Lord Kageyama, furious that he had been tricked by a boy, sent his soldiers to search the entire forest, but they found nothing. He never found the true scroll. He never understood the true meaning of Musashi's teachings. He continued to fight with steel, and in the end, his greed and his wars led to his downfall. He never achieved the lasting power he craved. Many years passed. Kenji grew into a wise young man. He never forgot the scroll, or his promise. He continued to learn from his grandfather, absorbing all the knowledge of Bushido, the visible and the invisible parts. He learned to see the interconnectedness of all things, to understand the flow of life and human nature. He became a leader in their new, secret village, a place hidden deep in the mountains where peace truly reigned. One day, when Kenji was older, his grandfather, Hiroshi, felt his time was coming to an end. He called Kenji to his side. "My time is near, Kenji," he whispered, his voice soft like a fading breeze. "You have honored your promise. You have kept the scroll safe, not just the paper, but its spirit. Now, the time has come for you to decide its future." Kenji nodded, tears in his eyes. He had known this day would come. He had grown up with the weight of this secret, and the responsibility of the scroll. "Grandfather, what do you wish me to do with it?" he asked. Hiroshi smiled. "The greatest secret of the scroll, Kenji, is not in its words, but in the understanding it brings. Musashi taught that true strength comes from within, from wisdom, and from peace. The scroll itself is a symbol. Its power is not in the ink on the paper, but in the hearts of those who truly understand Bushido. You have lived that understanding." Kenji spent many days thinking. He hiked back to the Whispering Falls, to the hidden cave. He retrieved the lacquered box, feeling its familiar weight in his hands. He opened it and carefully unrolled the ancient parchment. The writings were beautiful, flowing characters, almost like drawings. He couldn't read all the old words, but he felt the meaning. It was about balance, about seeing the whole picture, about respect for all life, about finding strength in kindness, not just in force. He realized his grandfather was right. The true secret was not just in the words. It was in how he had grown, how he had understood the world.